With the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible, we called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seabird.
Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is a platform where me as a combat vet, combat wounded, I get to talk and tell my story, tell about a lot of different things, transition, how I'm dealing with life, different things. It's a place where I get to give my opinion. It's a place where I get to really give my focus, but it's also a place where other veterans also get to tell their story, and they get to tell their opinions and their viewpoints on life and how that transitions and how that operates within their whole aura of what they're doing now. It also gives us opportunity to reach out to some of our sponsors, supporters, volunteers, to tell their story, and also some incredible people that are just like trying to make a difference in this world. Other nonprofits that want to come on deck, other businesses that maybe want to add something to the life, and we've had some really awesome guests. And today, hey, I got Patrick Jones on, and Patrick Jones. He's got Love Sports International. This is a great deal. It's near and dear to my heart because when I went to Wounded Warrior Battalion West and was going through the processes, I got to see the Hope and Care Center get built, and we started treating all these combat injured veterans as world-class athletes, giving them a chance to really get involved in some sports that maybe they couldn't do anymore, and it gave us new hopes, new dreams, new abilities to kind of focus on things that we could do and not so much on what we can't do. So I'm really glad to have Patrick Jones on. He's got some incredible stories. He's not from the U.S. He's going to tell his story. He's got some really good buddies though that have served in combat that he can reference on. And I look forward to hearing his story. Him and I have talked before, and it's going to be a great story. Patrick, thanks for being on the show, brother.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to be here, and just by chance, we kind of met, and I know you got a lot of things going in some cool business opportunities that is really going to impact and give some opportunities for children and other people with disabilities to really get involved in some sports activities and talk about it, because Love Sports International is gonna hopefully stretch across the ocean and get its way into the US, and you've talked about that, but you got some stuff planned. Talk about it. Talk about your story too. Tell us your story.
Yeah, well, it all started, I'll introduce myself as you already did, as Patrick Jones. I originate from the beautiful islands of Bermuda, but I've been living in Spain for the last 19 and a half, almost 20 years. And I came to Spain with my ex-wife, and our relationship fell apart. I won't go too much into that, but after going through the divorce, it put me in a really, really bad position. Not having any sort of friends that I've grown up with. I had friends here, but not close friends and things like that. I developed depression because I was left bankrupt and basically in the street. And my vice was to turn to alcohol that led on to drugs that I never did before. It was a massive mistake. Fortunately, I was strong enough, minded, wise, that my stint with the drugs was literally only about 4 months, but I was strong enough to be able to go and get myself help. I've now been 10 and a half years sober. I tell everybody in the world, I will only ever have one more alcoholic drink in my life, and that is a glass of vintage champagne to celebrate my 100th birthday. So it gives me a goal in life, but I've got an absolutely beautiful, wonderful family. And through my trials and tribulations, my life started in the hospitality industry, running hotels, bars, restaurants, owning my own bars and restaurants. But I have an absolute love for sports. I played all sports all my life, and fortunately, it gave me access to the world. My number one sport was rugby. I played it internationally. I played all over the world. I got to see the world. So I changed my focus in life from the sort of hospitality restaurant business more to the sports business, and I opened up a golf academy. Now, I'm one of these people that gives everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I believe in the fact that everybody should have an opportunity to do the best they can at whatever they wish to do. One of the things I noticed when I had through my golf academy, I should say, is that you will get people with a lower handicap who will then complain about the fact that they have to play with somebody who has a higher handicap. And personally, I don't like that, because I believe in the fact we all have to start somewhere. So when you first started playing golf, you started with a high handicap of 22 to 26, 28. How do you get better? By playing with people that have handicaps of 15 to 7 or better. So I generally actually attack people and say, I don't like that attitude. You've got to help other people be able to get to where you are. You only got to where you are because other people gave you the ability to play with them as a better handicap. So I have an attitude, I'll play golf with anybody, and that's the reason why we have handicaps, because it levels the playing field. There was a golf tournament going on, and I hadn't actually entered it. But the owner, the director of the golf tournament, called me up and said, Pat, I know you will play golf with anybody. I have a gentleman here who would like to play in the golf tournament, but he doesn't have a partner. Would you be willing to play with him? And my response was, of course, nothing would give me greater pleasure. The day I showed up to the golf club, I was introduced to this gentleman, and he's a veteran of the British Royal Marines. His last tour in Iraq, about 4 days before the end of the tour, he stepped on a landmine. We know the damage these things can do. And here was this gentleman I was introduced with 2 prostate legs, and I'm thinking this is just absolutely amazing. It just blew me away. One of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. His attitude towards life, his attitude towards helping people, his attitude towards his injuries just absolutely blew me away. Turns out he only had a handicap of 6. So pretty amazing golfer. And we played together in the tournament. We won the tournament, and literally about 4 or 5 days after that, a lady showed up at my golf academy in a wheelchair. She'd had a horse riding accident and was paralyzed from the waist down, asking if I had a golf professional that could instruct her to play golf. Now, with my lack of knowledge of all these things, I said, not to be rude, but how do you physically from a wheelchair hit a golf ball? And she said, I have something very special. And this is a specially designed wheelchair that she pushes a button and it lifts her up into a vertical position where she can swing, hit the ball, pushes the button, sits it down, and she can drive the wheelchair onto her next shot. And these things just inspired me so much, seeing these people with these types of disabilities, being able to participate in sports. It inspired me to look into what facilities were there here in Europe to help people with all types of disabilities be able to participate in all different types of sports. And there's a few little pockets, but generally they don't exist. So this really inspired me. I spoke with my wife saying, I think what we should be looking at doing is expanding our golf academy into a tennis academy, because our daughter plays tennis. And she's 12 years of age, and she's just started studying online. We've taken her out of school to start a regime of where she wants to try and pursue a career in tennis and see if she can make it professionally. Now, after all the sports I played, I was support her 100% on that. So I sat down, did a load of research on, took me about 2.5, 3 years worth of research on what facilities there were that benefited children, people with disabilities, the recreational sports person to the professional sports person to be able to enhance their careers or give them opportunities to find careers through sports. And that's how Love Sports International was born. And over the last sort of 2.5, 3 years, we have built programs specifically targeting that aspect. Our mission is to create communities of where it is possible we can mix people with any type of disability with people without disabilities to participate in sports together, creating a community, creating communities with a level playing field. So it doesn't matter what your skin color is, what your ethnic background is, what your sexuality is, whether you have a disability, whether you don't have a disability, or if you have mental health issues, or you have, like the vets go through PTSD, is to create these communities where everybody feels welcome. And the way we do it is by using an array of different sports, because we know sports breaks all barriers, and it gives people a sense of belonging, like you belong to a team, you belong to a club, you're accepted, and it doesn't matter what your ability is. The idea is to help people reach new abilities, and especially young children. We're in the presence of building a foundation, which will be called Love Sports International's Foundation, is to help specifically underprivileged children and people with these different types of disabilities have access to the world of sports. Every day I'm making new connections, meeting people like yourself, and the program's designed to really help people reach their goals in life. And the most important thing to us is that the people reach a level of happiness and contentness.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, that's definitely, everything that I've been doing ever since I got blown up in Iraq in 2006, came back, trying to find a way to do what I can with what I got. And to have these modifications, to have these companies, the Hope and Care Center that had the underwater treadmill that allowed me to go in. I can't run on ground, but I can definitely run in this underwater treadmill because it takes the weight. I can also focus on my injury to kind of guide it. And this is going to inspire a lot of people to focus on their injuries in a positive manner to do the best with what they've got. And Patrick, where are you right now? What stage of everything? And do you have a location already? These kind of things. Talk about that.
Right now we have 2 locations. One in the United States, one here in Spain. Starting here in Spain due to the fact that I live here, but we want to be involved in the United States, and we want to bring organizations from the United States into Europe. So we cover both sides of the pond, if you like, the Atlantic Ocean, giving access to as many people around the world as we possibly can to some of the most modern, up-to-date, fantastic sporting facilities that are 100% designed to accommodate all types of people. We're very, very close to closing out some of the deals with the support that we've got, and the idea is, as time goes on over the next sort of 6 to 10 years, we hope to have one of these facilities in possibly every single state in the United States and every country in Europe, to truly become an international sporting facility. Our main goal is we want to set a bar that if you're going to be in this type of business, this is where you need to be. I don't like putting other organizations down or anybody down, but through my research, there's lots of places out there, but they do get government support and everything else, but they're mediocre in my book. We want to do something that's really spectacular, where we can really make a difference to people's lives and give them opportunities to be able to find employment, happiness, be able to participate in sports, take the sports to professional levels, competing in the Paralympics, competing in, all sorts of different games that there are around the world. But specifically, what I would like to be able to do is, I could be wrong in saying this, but I haven't been able to find it yet, where there are specific sporting events and tournaments that can be played in partnerships without the gap of having only people with disabilities or only people without disabilities, is having the first sporting events where people with disabilities compete with people without disabilities.
So mixing that would be definite. Yeah, that's something that's on the. Yeah, I've never thought of it. And that would be a great combination. And I want to say there might be some combinations of that. Like I think I've seen runners run next to someone who's blind running next to somebody who isn't. That really helps them pace themselves and do some certain things. But it's not like they're competing with that person, but they're also utilizing the resource of somebody who maybe doesn't have the disability that can just fortify their ability to do something that's incredible within what they want to do.
Yeah, I have a vision that I would love to be able to one day connect with a reality show type program, and I would like to put together a program that spells the name of it that I have would be Compete With Me on My Level. So you have somebody who, for example, plays tennis in a wheelchair. You have somebody else who plays tennis normally, but that person who plays tennis normally would have to compete against somebody in a wheelchair, just so it defines how much skill and dedication the people with a disability have to get to the level they are. Because until you put yourself in that position, you have no idea.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Now I know they have the wheelchair basketball. It's almost like you'd have to mix that up a little bit. Some with wheelchairs and some without on both teams that might incorporate some stuff. Because I know
but take. I'm just saying, take I don't know, say for an example, somebody everybody know, Michael Jordan. Put him in a wheelchair to play wheelchair basketball against one of the top wheelchair basketball players there is, and see how they compare.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a challenge for somebody who has never been in a wheelchair, because that definitely adds to some benefit. Some training will be required.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's like there's an absolutely fantastic guy. I don't know if you've heard of him or know him, but he's from Georgia. And this gentleman, he was, I believe it was in Afghanistan, and he was in an armored vehicle that IOD went off underneath. He was ejected 60 to 100 feet in the air, came down, landed on his head. He explained to me, your first reaction is to get back to your group. He went to stand up and he couldn't, and he knew instantly he was paralyzed. He was instantly pumped full of morphine, taken back to camp, operated on, flown to Germany, operated on. I think his accident happened in September, and he finally got home to Georgia to his wife and children at 32 years of age, I think he was at the time, sometime January, February of the following year. He was on 28 different types of medication, obviously developed depression, lying in bed, figuring out how could I be a father to my children with such a horrific injury. Was unmotivated to do anything. One day he was in the grocery store in his wheelchair, and a guy in a wheelchair approached him and said, "Why don't you come and join us and play wheelchair basketball?" He thought about it. And then one day he decided, let me go and do that. Somebody else there said to him, "Why don't you think about playing tennis?" He's now one of the top wheelchair tennis coaches in the US. And his children say to him, why can't we play in wheelchairs? And it's just the most amazing person. When you hear these stories of how horrific these injuries are that people go through, but their inner strength to overcome them, to get back to living a normal life. And mentally, it's going to be one of the hardest things in the world to do. And that's what I would like to do through my organization and through the people I work with, is really help as many of these people as we possibly can get back on their feet and have a chance of living life.
Amazing. And right now, your thought, obviously you have the academy for the golf academy, which has so many awesome features to it. I didn't play golf until I got blown up. And I guess I'm kind of spoiled because I get invited to golf tournaments to play. Golf tournaments are always way more exciting than I think the 2 or 3 games that I've played without a golf tournament. Now I need 18 balls. I always need about 18 balls, one for each hole, and maybe even extra one after that. But you got golf. What other sport? I mean, because sit down volleyball was a really cool thing when I got blown up, and I actually got to go to the Paralympic training facility at Wounded Warrior Battalion West with all of our guys that are dealing with combat related injuries, and we got to be inspired by certain things like you're talking about. And I know it's so cool because someone who's laying in a bed who's like, I can't play any sport, and someone throws a balloon to them and they start tapping a balloon back and forth over some sheet that's across the bed, and now you're playing in the bed volleyball with a balloon that gives you that sense of hope. And I think it's really awesome, these plans that you have. And I'm just curious, where are you at with what sport are you pushing? Besides
We're
just
starting,
golf and tennis.
well, we're starting with golf, tennis, and horse riding.
Yes.
Because we know, especially people with mental disabilities or mental issues, working with animals is one of the most amazing things you can do. The animals really bring out your inner strength and your spirit, because they understand what you're going through. And it's that contact. So right now we've built programs through golf, tennis, and horse riding. But as I say to everybody, I want to be able to go from the mountains to the sea and everything in between. I've got a meeting coming up this week with an individual. He has a business in the Canary Islands. Now, his business is all about disabled tourism, helping people who come on holiday that have a family member with a disability to be able to take them paragliding, scuba diving, on mountain trails. The list is endless. And my thing is, any type of sport that we can do, we will, build programs around. I've got some very, very good connections and friends that have been involved in the Paralympics and are all gold, silver, and bronze medal winners that are really, really supporting the programs that we've put together and want to be a part of it. And this is my thing about Love Sports International. It's all about helping people in any way we possibly can. So it's I don't look at it, there's going to be 2 aspects, a business aspect and the foundation aspect. And the idea is we will donate a minimum of 20-25% of our net profits every year to the foundation. So the foundation then supports the business, which allows us to be able to employ as many top professionals as we possibly can in any sport and build programs. Because a lot of people get sort of put off saying, I need to make a living. I have a family to look after. But if you're just giving discounted sports to people with all types of disabilities or underprivileged children, where do we make money? And the way I work with people is my organization will do all the networking, all the advertising. We will provide all the facilities and everything else. You come and work with us, because nobody will ever work for us, because we always work together. Is they will get, as an example, 40% of every lesson they give, whether it's group or individual, and the Love Sports International will receive 60%. That covers all our costing and everything else. So at the end of the day, somebody comes along, a classic example I always use, I've got a very, very good friend in Wales. He's the ex-CEO of Sports Wales. He put together these games in Swansea in Wales, and he won an OBE, which is I can't remember the first thing, but it's a medal for the MBE, member of the British Empire. So it's like just below getting a knighthood is Sir. And his wife is a lawyer. Now he has 2 children. His daughter has Down syndrome. His son has autism. And he says, Pat, you wouldn't imagine what it's like in our household. There's somebody who wants to embrace the world with love, and the other one who thinks the world is going to swallow them up. And he said, but can I afford to pay for my children to be involved in sporting programs? Of course I can, and I do. But then you have Mary that lives down the road, who's a single mother with a son who has autism, who needs 24-hour care. Can she afford it? No, she can't. So our approach to this is to say we want people to be able to make a commitment rather than just giving everything completely free. But what we'll do is approach them and say, listen, let's say hypothetically it's 200 euros or $200 a month for 4 hours a week for your child to have tennis lessons. Could you afford $20 a month? And the answer is going to be yes, of course I could do that. Say, okay, you pay $20, our foundation will subsidize the difference. So the person who's teaching the lesson is still making their income and is more inclined to put more effort into what they're doing because they're not doing it for free. And that's where we then decide to donate a minimum of 25% of our net profits on an annual basis back into the foundation. So the foundation helps the business and the business helps the foundation. And I believe through doing it that way, we can get a lot of help from other organizations to support the programs and the things that we're doing as well, if that makes sense to you.
No, it does, Patrick. Thanks for explaining that. That's a great business model. And I'm not really good at business, but it sounds good to me. Yeah, I'm good at helping veterans and helping people and connecting with people. But these are great plans. I look forward to seeing how this kind of goes. I know you and I kind of talked about, how you combine, you got a lot of organizations doing some incredible things in one area. Like they're very good at diving for veterans or diving for guys that are with disabilities. How do you work with these other organization possibilities? And I know you kind of talked, you got to be real careful. You got to screen some of these things. You got to make sure, because they can really make your organization look bad if they're not doing what they should be doing as an organization and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about how you might incorporate some of that.
Yeah, well, that again is my belief. Is I'm a very trusting person. I get in trouble for trusting people all the time, but it's my nature and how it is. But
oh yeah,
it's like but it's like you said. I mean, there's lots of these different organizations, but they're pockets. They're not globally inclined, if you know what I mean. So my thing is for Love Sports International to collaborate with as many of these organizations as possible. I mean, I've had, God, in the last month, God knows how many conversations with different people who've all said, oh, I would love to be a part of what you're doing. And, my front door is wide open and say, yeah, this is the whole point behind it, is getting a global name that has a lot of different fingers and aspects.
Yeah.
Now, and the idea is what we're about is, like, for instance, your organization, the other one I love, Warriors Built, right? What can I, as Love Sports International, bring to that organization to expand their organization to help many more people? Because these they seem that there's lots, but they're in different, use the United States, in different states, for example. But through using Love Sports International, we can open up those doors through facilities that we build, is to bring these people in and give them more opportunities to expand what they're doing. And hopefully, through the right marketing aspects and donations and things that we're doing, is get the help to people in many different states rather than just in a couple.
Yeah, I think that's super important, Patrick. I think it's getting harder and harder for organizations like these niche organizations to pull in the kind of clientele that they're looking for. Like, I mean, I deal with all combat vets all the time. Not all the time do these combat vets know what's out there, but if they kind of can know a couple of organizations or Love Sports International, go through a screening process, and you guys have that list out. I know Wounded Warrior Project does a similar kind of thing. Even I myself am always screening and saying, hey, let me think about my resources and attach this guy to that resource, and then it fits. But it's getting harder and harder to do that with niche pieces and not all these kind of cool collective international type organizations like yours. I'm looking forward to definitely working with you on these kind of things. And I love your ideas, and I appreciate all the hard work and effort you're putting into this. Any last words? I know we got kind of late today, but I definitely want to have you on again with some other things as you go through this process. But anything you want to throw out there, and if somebody wants to get a hold of you, you can do it through me. Hit me up. I'll get you a hold of Patrick. But if you have any other ways, check that out. I also put the links in the show notes to Love Sports International. You can find it on the internet that way. But go ahead, Patrick.
But yeah, I can always be reached through Patrick at lovesportsinternational.com. I make myself available anytime. My number one saying is, that I say to people all the time, is whatever you do this week, make sure you make it a sporty one. It's a little bit of a cliche, but I've got all sorts of plans as we've gone through. My goal is I want to close that gap between groups, try and get rid of the stigma. And my thing is, for however many more minutes, hours, months, years I have left on this earth, I will be working at this to close this gap and give people opportunities to be able to better their lives. And my mission is that when I'm gone, my children carry it on, I leave a legacy behind, that other people carry it on, that in the future we have better resources and better communication. Instead of lumping people into groups, is that we come together as a community where everybody feels welcome.
Great stuff, Patrick. Hey, thanks a lot for being on my show. It's been incredible to have you, and I definitely look forward to having you again as we go through these processes, and appreciate you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me, and we love what you're doing as well. And in any way I can help, I'm right there behind you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, this is Aaron Siebert. I'm lucky enough to be on sitchradio.com doing this podcast. It gives me an opportunity to reach out to certain people and find that their passions or whatever it is, link them up and put them on this podcast to kind of put out there what's going on, things that are opportunities for our combat vets, as well as other people, other vets, other things that involve the community as well, because we have to be involved with each other, with ourselves, and with society. But thanks to sitchradio.com. Thanks to, I talk a lot about it. PTSD Foundation of America, Warrior Built Foundation. There's other foundations that I work with, that I deal with. But if you're a foundation that wants to get on my show, hit me up. We'll have some time. Every week I'm here Mondays usually. Very rarely do I miss it unless I'm traveling or doing something I missed last week. But I appreciate you. I appreciate the listeners. Appreciate everybody. Brian Colburn, who actually runs sitchradio.com and pushed me into this whole deal. Much love to you, brother. Until next time, hey, this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy chief, lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round, April 2006. Signing off. Strength and honor. Out.
Hi, I'm Mike Richmond of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs with this message for veterans. Are you seeking to honor those who have served and sacrificed for their country? Visit the Veterans Legacy Memorial. This digital platform, run by VA's National Cemetery Administration, is dedicated to the memory of nearly 4.5 million veterans interred at VA's national cemeteries, VA's grant-funded tribal, state, and territory cemeteries, and 2 U.S. National Park Service cemeteries. The memorial's interactive features allow people to remember veterans by posting tributes and comments, uploading images, and sharing a veteran's military timeline, achievements, biographical information, historical documents, and more. Over 45,000 submissions have been made to the existing profile pages since the site was launched. That's the Veterans Legacy Memorial. I'm Mike Richmond.